Hello, gorgeous heartbeat, and welcome to Heartbeats Harbor. I'm your host, Brianna Hozak, and I'm here to shine the light on the shadow path we walk as heartbeat women. Women rising into leadership roles as lightworkers, changemakers, world shakers, or as I call us, heartbeats, do not have an easy path to walk. It often feels lonely, painful, and unique, but I'm here to help you see how very not alone you are, and how beautiful the shadows surrounding you actually are when you love and integrate them on your healing journey. I create spaces and opportunities for women to step into deeper self-awareness, self-acceptance, and personal healing, community and sacred circles, as well as leadership of themselves, their families, their communities, and beyond. My business and my life is and always will be about massive change in the ways things are done around the world. I believe it's a big part of my purpose on this planet to be a voice for those who don't have one, a safe harbor for those who need one, and a beacon of light to inspire a better way. None of this is easy. I've learned that big impact requires bold action and delusional levels of confidence, as well as a ton of shadow work. If you love what you hear on this podcast and you want to be part of the growing, supportive online village of Heartbeats Harbor, make sure you join my Facebook group, which is linked below in the show notes. Now, I can't wait to get started, so let's turn on the lights. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Heartbeats Harbor podcast. Today, I want to talk about the entrepreneurial journey into leadership. Being a leader, a real leader, has many layers. There is natural leaders, people who are born sort of with this inherent leadership quality. There are trained leaders. There are leaders who are very authoritative, authentic leaders, and impactful leaders, ones who make a real change in the world. And there are several ways to walk the path to being the most impactful and authentic leader that you can possibly be. Several paths that you can take, right, to get there. And I want to talk about why I think that the entrepreneurial path is the best one. Okay. And even beyond that, there are multiple entrepreneurial paths. But here is the most straightforward in my mind and the way that I look at it. And the key pieces that I teach my clients, even if they've done parts of it before they came into my world. So these are sort of all of the spots that we hit, all of the things that we cover. And tell me in the comments of this episode, which, if any of these that you have done already, and where you think maybe that you need the most support. So this is my 5 S's, okay? The 5 S's of leadership. And it goes simplify, self, service, shining, and sharing, okay? And that is, I will go through each of those steps, but this is the 5 things that I always touch on for anyone coming into my world at some level, okay? Whether clients, audience members, just people I'm having a conversation with, it's sort of the main things that I talk about. So first off is simplify, and ideally this is first, and I'll explain why. So to be an entrepreneur and to become successful, you need things to be as simple as possible. Otherwise, we get into burnout, we get into overwhelm, right? We are doing way too much, and we're unfocused and we're all over the place and we just don't get there as fast as we could. And yet, as entrepreneurs, we tend to overcomplicate things often. And I personally believe this is because people with ADHD, multi-passionate people, people who like change and who think outside the box, they make the best entrepreneurs. And because of that, we test all the different ways, right? It's like we have to try them all first. Especially if you're like me, a manifesting generator, we are specifically designed to try all the ways. So, however, okay, we may overcomplicate things more often. What we want to aim for is simplifying everything. And we can simplify everything in our lives, from our schedules, our routines, our habits, our meal planning, and our surroundings, our stuff, right? Our physical clutter that's around us, right down to our learning. like not doing 5 courses at once, or to the offers that we're creating, like not doing 31 offers in a month, like I just did. So we can literally apply this in every area of our lives. And I have offers from A to Z in this area, because simplifying and decluttering was actually the path out of deep, deep depression and a very dark part of my life into the next step, which is, again, this is the steps in the order that make the most sense to me and the way that I apply them in my business and with my clients and with my audience. But the next step for me was self. So once I got myself out of that depressive funk by simplifying my life and making it manageable for myself again, I moved on to working on myself. And I say that self is next because when we simplify, then we have the time for ourself, right? So especially those of you in my audience who are moms, we know this, right? We're busy, busy, busy. And if we have jam-packed schedules, jam-packed houses, jam-packed brains, you hear it all the time, right? You hear people talking about how self-care is important, but there's no time. How do you have time? Simplify. You need to simplify in every area of your life so that you have time for yourself. And that is non-optional. That is why so many moms and entrepreneurs and, so many people in general are overwhelmed, depressed, and struggling, is because their lives are not simple. They're so complicated. It's so overwhelming, and they're just shutting down. So, and obviously that's not the only reason. It's just a very common one. But once we simplify, then we have time for ourself. And ourself includes our whole person, right? From exercise, diet, self-care, personal development, spirituality, all of it, right? Every single aspect of our lives that is related to self. And this part of the journey pretty much always overlaps the others. And that's because it is our lifelong growth path. We need to figure out who we are. We need to figure out what our path is. We need to figure out what direction we're going and what we want, right? And so the self path is a very long one. It is a lifelong path. However, it is very hard to focus on before we simplify our lives. If you skip right over simplify because you never got crazy, busy, cluttered, overwhelmed, all of that, then kudos to you. But I think that most people in this day and age, this very fast-paced society that we live in, struggle with this. So they usually end up having to wait until they have simplified something to make the time to focus on their self. So next, third, is serving or service, which is where entrepreneurship really comes to play. This is entrepreneurs are creating new solutions to old problems, right? That's exactly what entrepreneurship is. And we are usually trying to make life easier for either ourselves or someone else when we start onto this path. And especially for heart-centered entrepreneurs coming from a desire to serve, right? Help and heal others. And this is, for me, when I first started out, I wanted to make my life easier, right? That's how it started. And that's, I think, how it starts with most is I wanted to make my life easier. I wanted to be home with my kids instead of commuting to and from work 2 hours a day. So I started my entrepreneurship journey running a day home, being a parenting coach out of my home, unintentionally, but that's what ended up happening. And I did that for 10 years. And then, partway through that, I got to the point where I had decluttered, I had simplified my life, and I was working on myself, and I realized I wanted to help others as well, right? So it moved from making my own life easier to wanting to make other people's lives easier, wanting to help other moms, wanting to help other women, wanting to help other entrepreneur women, and ADHD women, all of it. I've sort of gone through the ringer of all the different people who I wanted to help. And very much came from a place of wanting to help and heal others and not have, not leave anyone sitting in the dust doing and struggling through the same things that I had done and struggled through. So that is the next one. moving on is the fourth one is shine or shining, which is where truly becoming your most authentic, wild, natural, and vulnerable self comes to play. This is taking entrepreneurship to the next level. This is showing the world we can make things different. We can make a really lasting change, right? And to be the best leader possible, you need to rediscover who you truly are naturally, who you were born to be, and who you most want to become, because we get a choice in the matter, right? So there's all sorts of back and forth around these topics, around purpose, around what we're meant to do, quote unquote, and all of this. And I really do believe that we get a choice. I also believe that we predetermine this before we come here, but we get to make choices all along the way. We get to do it how we want to do it. But finding out who we really are at our core is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. And I don't care who you are, you have had some sort of influence in your life that has changed you. Maybe even for the better, but it has changed you. So rediscovering who you are at your core and who you were born to be in that sense, and then also who you most want to become. And very last is sharing, which is when you step above the rest of the leaders in the world and decide that keeping others down to increase your supposed power doesn't work, at least in the long run, right? And the best, most powerful, and most beneficial for all way to lead is to bring as many people with you as you possibly can and truly embody the community and collaboration over competition mindset, and truly embody the belief that there's room at the table for everyone. Okay, and this is something that is really tough because we have it trained into us every minute of every day especially in our Western society, that corporate mentality of competition and having to beat out the rest in order to move up the ladder. And that is not how it has to be. This is a different way of doing things. So I believe, and a key value for me in my life, in my business, in everything that I do, is that a rising tide truly does lift all ships, which is the whole premise behind all of my group programs, as well as, and especially in my online village I'm creating, the Facebook community of Heartbeats Harbor, which you can join at any time at the link in the show notes. We'd truly love to have you there. And it really and truly is a space that is embodying this principle of there's room at the table for everyone. It is one of my pride and joy creations and spaces, and something that I have testimonials basically that come from it daily, of people just being enamored with it, just loving the space, feeling like it's home away from home, feeling like it's their home online. It's the safe space to be, all of that. And it's truly an incredible achievement to have gotten to that point where I've created that, and that this is something that now I'm bringing into my paid programs as well. So I'm really proud to have gotten there, and that doesn't mean that I have no other of those pieces to work on. I'm consistently simplifying. I'm always looking back at, okay, what just worked, what didn't, and how can I simplify that for the future so that I'm not having to get back to the point where I'm overwhelmed again, right? And I'm also constantly working on myself. I am constantly working on my spirituality, my mindset, all of those things. And I'm a multi-passionate manifesting generator entrepreneur with ADHD, hyperactive type ADHD. So I am, coming up with all the ways to serve all the time. And I do truly believe, and I'm very proud of myself at the point of feeling like I am showing up as an authentic leader, and embodying that so that the women in my audience, in my world, and in my programs are able to see what that looks like. And then to be able to move that to that next level and start to create it in a community sense, where everyone can believe that they are welcome at the table, that they are equals with everyone else, and that they have something amazing to contribute, is just really, really incredible. So this is why I believe this is the journey to true powerful, impactful, world-changing leadership, the most effective journey, the most direct journey through entrepreneurship. So that's all I wanted to cover today, and I look forward to next time. Actually, I am bringing our first ever guest episode in a couple of weeks here, where I will be chatting with self-proclaimed happiness hussy Christy Holt about life, love, and legacy. So I will talk to you all next time.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe to be notified of new episodes. If you really love it here and want to help spread the light, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. They help so much. If you love listening and want to be part of the interactive and incredible online community we're growing, make sure you click the link in the description box and join the Facebook group. I promise you it is not like other groups you've been in. Hope to meet you there soon, and I'll be talking to you next week, sending you all my love from my heartbeat to yours.